After Argentina's opposition coalition Together for Change won the legislative primary elections on Sunday, President Alberto Fernandez promised to make greater efforts to ensure better results come November. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, warned Monday that environmental threats will soon constitute the biggest challenge to human rights. The Taliban government received the Qatari foreign minister, the highest level foreign official to visit Afghanistan since the group took power. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, I'm Katrina Goss. Argentina saw primary elections on Sunday to define the candidates that will run in the legislative elections scheduled for November 14th. We have more details in the following report with our correspondent Carolina Silvestre.
Under strong health measures and with some delays in voting and counting due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Argentinians voted throughout the country.
I put the ballot inside the envelope and showed it to the authorities, and then I put it in the ballot box. It went perfect. Carefully, I entered when they called my name. They were calling by voting table number. I brought my alcohol, my pen, and my ID.
No problem. We put the ID where it should be, right? And well, we also put the ballot inside the envelope. We showed it and put it back in the box. Thank God everything was fine. There were not so many people. It flowed smoothly, and I really liked it a lot. One already has certain convictions and tries to fulfill one's civic duty so that the country can move forward.
With similar results to the 2017 midterm elections, Together for Change won first place, and in second place was the Front of All, followed by the rest of the fronts.
I have saved my most special thanks for the end, and I want to thank two people, Ricardo López Murphy and Adolfo Rubinstein, they and all the people of Porteño who supported their candidates, because thanks to them, today, tonight, we are more.
We have visited many municipalities. We were missing some places, but we will be there in the ones we are missing. We have been learning, we have been listening, we have made proposals. We are a diverse space, but we are together.
The current Argentinian president, an important member of the Front of All, also spoke about the electoral process together with some of the candidates.
What we need most is to move forward with more social justice, with more development, with more production, with more public education, with more public health. That is what brought me to the government the day Cristina and I were voted in October and in December, when we arrived at the government, with the same ideals, the same convictions, listening to the message of the people, knowing that in that message there are unmet demands that we must meet, and surely there are claims for mistakes made that cannot be repeated.
Alberto Fernandez asked the militants and leaders of his organization to set a single objective between now and the general legislative elections.
It is to go out to the streets, to go back to neighborhoods and to explain to Argentine men and women that there is a country to be built, after all the pain inherited from the years previous of our arrival to the government, and after all the pain left by the pandemic. And we are going to build that country together with all Argentine men and women. I want to ask every Argentinian who is listening to me that I have 2 years of government ahead of me, that I'm not going to give up, and that I need the help and collaboration of every Argentinian, and I humbly ask you to help me.
With the candidates chosen to run for the 127 seats in the lower house and 24 in the Senate, the political fronts are preparing for the November 14 elections, which will determine the composition of the Argentine parliament for the next 2 years.
Carolina Silvestre, TeleSUR, Buenos Aires.
This Monday, former Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva secured another legal victory after an investigation against him for influence peddling was shelved. Federal Judge Maria Carolina Ayub of the Ninth Federal Court of Sao Paulo accepted a request from Lula's defense team and ordered the shelving, noting the absence of just cause for the continuation of the investigations since the statute of limitations has elapsed given Lula's age. The former president's defense stressed that this is the 19th investigative procedure filed against Lula to be shelved and, like the others, is based on unfounded accusations. This is the latest confirmation that the leader of the Workers' Party and favourite to win if he stands in the next presidential election was a victim of lawfare. 17 heads of state, 2 vice presidents, 9 foreign ministers and other high-level authorities will attend the summit of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States to be held in Mexico on September 18th. Mexican Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard has already stated on several occasions that the summit will see regional leaders prepare a proposal to be submitted to the United States and Canada to replace the infamous Organization of American States, accused of interference in several nations' internal affairs, with another regional organization based on solidarity. The proposal is to be presented during the first half of 2022. Cuban scientists again insisted on Monday that there's no evidence for claims of United States diplomats coming down with so-called Havana syndrome on the island. A panel of 16 experts in a variety of fields and affiliated to the Cuban Academy of Sciences points out that there's no scientific evidence to back up the claims of sonic attacks against US diplomatic staff. They conclude that the narrative of the mysterious syndrome is not scientifically acceptable in any of its components. The Cuban experts also noted that no known form of energy can selectively cause brain damage under the conditions described for the alleged incidents in Havana. The Cuban government insists that Washington provide evidence for the accusations, which are used as justification by the Trump administration to launch further attacks and sanctions on Cuba. And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, warned Monday that environmental threats are worsening conflicts worldwide and will soon constitute the biggest challenge to human rights.
But today, because of human action and inhuman inaction, the triple planetary crisis of climate change, pollution and nature loss is directly and severely impacting a broad range of rights, including the rights to adequate food, water, education, housing, health, development, and even life itself. As these environmental threats intensify, they will constitute the single greatest challenge to human rights in our era. All this is now painfully clear. The greatest uncertainty about this challenge is what policymakers will do about them.
Firefighting crews near southern Spain's Costa del Sol continued to battle a major wildfire that has ravaged over 7,000 hectares in 5 days and displaced some 2,600 people from their homes. Authorities are describing the blaze in Sierra Bermeja, a mountain range in Malaga province, as a 6th-generation fire of the extreme kind brought about by the changing climate. The affected area has doubled since Saturday, when authorities said that the flames were contained within a perimeter of about 40 kilometres. Official data show that wildfires are getting bigger in Spain. In the first 8 months of 2021, wildfires consumed more forest land than the average during the past decade.
So many units, so many preparations. I do not know how to explain myself, and they still haven't been able to smother this fire. I do not understand. I do not know whom to blame. Not Infoca. They've been working. One man even died. I do not know who is it to blame. After 4 days of work, of trying to extinguish the fire, which is quite hard, you feel tired, but today has been a good day, because it has rained little, and that has helped us to bring down the fire. As urban firefighters, we are here from the first minute. We were the first to arrive, with our teams from Estepona and Manilva. Since then, we have not come out of the fire.
On Monday, the Algerian Prime Minister and Finance Minister presented the government's action plan to the National People's Assembly. A new government was announced in July after elections in June.
The government will work on strengthening freedoms and modernizing the judiciary by establishing its independence and efficiency through the revision of organic laws relating to the judiciary and the National Council of the Judiciary, which will be installed before the end of the current year. In regard to the exercise of full rights and freedoms, the government will continue working on being more flexible with the judiciary aspect that concerns the creation of associations and political parties, as well as the right to exercise the freedom of assembly and peaceful demonstration in strict compliance with the laws of the Republic.
The resumption of the trial of the ousted leader of Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi, was postponed on Monday after she failed to turn up because she felt ill, according to her lawyer. Held under house arrest after the military ousted her from power in February, Suu Kyi, aged 76, remains cut off from the world, except for court appearances and brief meetings with her legal team. She faces a series of charges that could see her jailed for over a decade. The trial on charges including that she violated coronavirus restrictions during the elections her party won last year and illegally imported walkie-talkies was due to resume on Monday after a 2-month pause due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Welcome back to From the South. In Afghanistan, the Taliban government received the Qatari foreign minister, the highest level foreign official to visit the country since the group took power. Foreign Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani has visited Afghanistan's capital Kabul and met with Mullah Mohammed Hassan Akhund, the acting prime minister in the Taliban's new government. Afghan authorities described the agreement between the Taliban and the United States in Doha as a historic achievement, while the Qatari foreign minister underlined the importance of developing bilateral relations, as well as facilitating additional international humanitarian aid to the country and supporting its economic revival. On Sunday, Al Thani met with former President Hamid Karzai, as well as Abdullah, the head of the National Reconciliation Council, as he encouraged Afghan parties and groups to engage in national reconciliation. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has again called for international engagement with the Taliban to avert an economic collapse in Afghanistan, insisting aid should be used as leverage to improve human rights.
I do believe that it is very important to engage with the Taliban at the present moment for all aspects that concern the international community, be it about terrorism, be it about human rights, be it about drugs, be it about the nature of the government. So our attitude is to engage. Humanitarian aid will not solve the problem if the economy of Afghanistan collapses. And we know that the risk is enormous and that there is a dramatic lack of cash. I do think it's very important to engage with the Taliban at the present moment for all aspects that concern the international community, be it about terrorism, be it about human rights, be it about drugs, be it about the nature of the government. So our attitude is to engage. Humanitarian aid will not solve the problem if the economy of Afghanistan collapses. And we know that the risk is enormous and that there is a dramatic.
In this context, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, expressed her disappointment regarding a lack of inclusiveness and diversity in the Taliban transitional government. The UN official also expressed concern over the treatment of women and those who oppose Taliban's rule. Bachelet reiterated her call to the UN Human Rights Council to put in place a specific mechanism to closely monitor the evolution of the human rights situation in Afghanistan. The first foreign commercial flight since the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan departed from Kabul on Monday. A Pakistan International Airlines plane made a return flight from the Afghan capital to Islamabad. The first such flight brought hope to thousands of Afghans who are still desperate to leave the country. Kabul airport was left in shambles after the US-led forces ended their chaotic evacuation of more than 120,000 people. The Taliban have since rushed to get it back up and running with technical assistance from Qatar and Turkey.
I feel very comfortable. This is just like coming to a place where I have to retrieve people. So this is a great moment for me after a long time since the changeover of the establishment in Kabul. The arrangements are in good shape, although we face some difficulties in getting clearances and the rest of it, but at the end of the day it was well coordinated.
An Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson has noted that the interim government of Afghanistan is not what the international community or Iran had expected.
What has been touted as the interim Afghan government is certainly not the inclusive government that the international community and the Islamic Republic of Iran expected. We really have to wait and see how the Taliban responds to international demands.
Lebanon's new government met for the first time amidst public expectation and scepticism. The newly formed 24-member cabinet held its first meeting at the presidential palace. It was formed last week after 13 months of political stalemate in the context of an accelerating economic collapse. Prime Minister Najib Mikati desperately needs to pull Lebanon out of what the World Bank has called one of the worst economic crises on the planet since the 1850s. Mikati has already held office twice and was indicted in 2019 for illicit enrichment. The Gaza Strip was shelled by Israel for the third consecutive night on Monday. At least 3 rockets hit the north of the blockaded strip, causing material damage. Israeli fighter jets also bombed different locations in the towns of Bet Lahia, Rafah and Khan Yunis, causing material damage and fires, while nearby houses were also affected. No casualties were reported. The Israeli regime once again claimed the attacks were in response to the launching of a rocket from Gaza into Israeli border towns. Meanwhile, the Palestinian resistance movement stressed that the latest attacks were a response to the escape of 6 Palestinian inmates from an Israeli maximum security prison last week. The latest in a long line of acts of collective punishment of the Palestinian people by the Israeli regime. And we've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss. Thank you for watching.